Okay, so the a number of things. First of all, uh, I'd like to hope that the Divrei Torah that we're speaking about today will be the Ilu Nishmasam of all the Kedoshim that were murdered yesterday. So painful, and it's just everybody, anyone, we are such a small group of people. Everybody has some sort of a connection, guy, and it's horrible. That's number one. Number two, I would like it to be a schus and for Shlema for Bana Rus Bas Golda, Yechiel Michel ben Chayas Sora, and for Zachariah Menachem ben Dina Zahava, the Soch Shar Chola Le Israel. Among all the rest of Klal Yisrael, we need it so desperately. But let me just start with something that may be helpful. Um, we're all suffering terribly with a sense of we don't know what's going on in the world. We don't know what's going on in the world. We don't know what's going on with us here in Eretz Yisrael. We don't know why we're troubled. How does it all fit? We know that it's getting closer and closer to Mashiach. What's going on here? And there are a number of mishalim that people use, and there's one that I remember, and I don't remember from where, but it touched me very deeply. I don't know if any of you uh, built a jigsaw puzzle in your life? Yes, it's fun, right? So you start out with 25 pieces, and then 50, and 100, and 1,000, and 2,000, and 5,000, and so on. Right? Now imagine for a moment that you had a billion-piece jigsaw puzzle, and all the pieces are here in front of you. And all of a sudden, some schmegegi comes along, picks up a piece. He says, "Where does this go? How does it fit in?" And you say to him, "What are you talking about? I'll build either that area or the picture or the whole picture, but it'll fit in and it'll complete the picture." We don't know what goes on in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Lahavdal Elef Billionay Havdalos jigsaw puzzle of the world he created. But he has a plan, a big plan, a gigantic plan, and all the pieces fit together. But if you ask me, where does this piece belong, or where does that piece belong? I can't. We all can't. And this is the life and the world we live in. Now, it was always that way, except now it has become a lot more complicated. A lot more complicated. The world is complicated. The world is crazy, crazy complicated. And on top of it, there are fish gesund and meshuga. I mean, everybody's lost their minds from the top to the bottom, to the lowest of the low, to the highest of the high of what people think are the queen, the king, the what, the president, the this. They're all nuts. They've lost their mind. And they do things that make no sense whatsoever, no logical sense anyway. To them, they think they're making sense. And they what? And they cover it over with a sense of humanitarian caring, with being so overwhelmingly concerned about people they couldn't give a darn less about. This is the world we live in. And I'm sure it was this way to a certain degree in the past. But I think back to my mother. I think back, she's gone now 25 years. Okay. And I think about it, and I say, this world, it was before 9/11. And like, she would look at the world today and she'd be lost. She wouldn't know what's going on. A Republican is the president? You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be political right now. I'm just trying to explain to where we are, and it'll fit into what we're going to be talking about today. So, this coming Shabbos, Matzoi Shabbos, that is, it's Slichas time. Now, I had the great schus, big schus, of being a Rav in a Sephardi shul in London for a number of years. And it was hard, but they started saying Slichas on Rosh Chodesh Elul. So I had to be there. And I didn't know what I was because, I mean, I was a total, I didn't grow up like that. But I came away with enormous amount of respect. And I want you to know something. We Ashkenazim, I mean, we're so darn cerebral. Everything has to go through the head. But we don't understand mostly. I mean, really, you have to be a big, big linguist and a big Talmud Chacham to understand the slichas that we say. It's hard. It's just poetic, and it's a whole different language almost. But with the Svardim, it's so emotional and so beautiful and so moving that you really feel that's why they go for a whole month. Could you imagine going for a whole month with what the Ashkenazim say in Slichas? A whole month every morning, waking up at who knows when in the morning and to come into shul and to say words. Right. However, we are who we are. And I'm now way putting down I'm in Hugim. I'm in Hugim, a Kodesh Kodashim. There's no question about that. But we have to find a mechanism of trying to make the times of the time of slichas, more effective for what it was intended to be. And if the Torah brings, it's a Meferish Torah, the one who says that you should say slichas for a whole month, but he says that the purpose of the slichas is a time of cheshbon hanefesh. Now, how those words that we say in the morning are going to get me to have cheshbon hanefesh, that's a different situation. But it can be that if we know that that's what we have to be doing, whether we say the words or not, at least let us fulfill what those words were supposed to evoke. Now, I'm in no position to tell anyone about what they need to correct, right? Cheshbon hanefesh. I can't tell anyone. Huh? And as it's an open pasuk. The pasuk says in Mishlei, "Leiv yodeya moras nafsha." This heart, each one of our hearts knows the bitterness of its soul. We know down deep, each and every one of us, what needs to be changed, what needs to be improved, and so on. However, I know about me, and I'm going to be talking about myself. And if you want to listen, you can listen. I'll give you permission. That I heard from my Rebbe Rebellia. He said he would get up around this time and he'd say, I'm talking to me, but you can listen in. So, the slichas that we say were designed to be an additional tefillah, an additional prayer during the day. Normally, we have 4 tefillos in the day. Shachris was established by Avraham Avinu, Mincha by Yitzchak Avinu, and Arvis by Yaakov Avinu. Those are the first 3. And then came along David HaMelech, and he gave us tikkun chatzos, which is something also which is very rare for people to say. You have to be in a high, holy madrega at the chatzos laila, not chatzos in the day. Chatzos laila, get up, sit down on the floor, and start crying about the Beis Hamikdash. And then Chazal came along after David HaMelech and instituted a fifth tefillah at this time of year, and that's Slichas. It's a unique tefillah. It's not just, Psalms or Tachnunim. We do have Tachnunim there, but that's not what it is. It's a tefillah, no different than Shachris, Mincha, or Arvis. It starts with Ashrei. Ashrei, Yoshrei, Veisecha, right? And then there's a Chatzi Kaddish. And then there is the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, which is the tefillah. Then there is Tachnunim, where we go Tachanun, and we have in the Tachanun there's the Vidui, which the Nusach Sfard do every mincha, by the way. Yeah, on days that they say Tachnunim, yes, they read that the Nusach Sfard, yeah, but they're going and they're finished. I never did quite understand that. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's not a typewriter. You know what I mean? It's you got to feel it. Hashem, God, whatever, so on and so forth. Okay, but at least doing slichas. And then it finishes with a Kaddish Tiskabel. Our tefillah should be Niskabel. So it's a unique and special tefillah that is added in the day. And just like you don't want to miss Mincha, and you don't want to miss Arvis, you don't want to miss Shachris, you don't want to miss Slichas. But the uniqueness about the Slichas is you can't say the tefillah. You can say the Ashrei, you can say the Tachnunim, but you can't say the Yud Gimel Midos. Because the Yud Gimel Midos need a minyan. You need the Yud Gimel Midos requires a minyan. That's 10 men. Okay. Okay. Got the message. And that is so therefore it has to be taken seriously as a tefillah, is what I'm trying to get at. Now I know women who don't go to chakras and you don't say slichas, and I appreciate that. And I don't know that you're an obligation to go either. But at least when one is, whether you went to shul or not, man or woman, doesn't really matter, you should at least evoke from within yourself a period of time during the day of Elul and Slichas for the Cheshbon HaNefesh. So how does the Slichas start? Very interesting. For Ashkenazim, again, I love. By the way, I came away from that. That's one thing. There was one thing I couldn't take at all with the Sfardim. I love them very, very much, but that one thing that it just got to me, I couldn't take it, and that was because they don't say Unesana Toikef on Yom Noroim. It's only an Ashkenazi tefillah. Can you imagine Shana Yom Kippur without Unesana Toikef? Something was missing. And that was I didn't have. I kind of squeezed it in and tried to find a way to say it. But okay. But but the slichas themselves were beautiful. Emotional. Everybody sang along. It was nice. It was good. We Ashkenazim, all right, speak for myself, I'm sure, that we begin the slichas with L'cho Hashem Atzdaka V'lanu Boshes Haponim. You, Hashem, are just, and we are ashamed. We have shame. Lanu boshes haponim. Busha is always put on the face, by the way, connected to the face. Just like covered is with, lifnei seva takum v'hadato pnei zokein. It's the face. Covered and shame. They're kind of two opposites. They all recognize the face. Why? Because our faces are unique. Nobody has two the same face. Even my triplet cousins, who my age now, can't believe that. But anyway, they're older than me by a couple of months. They were born on April 1st, and we didn't have, the ultrasounds in those days. And I think she knew she was having a multiple birth, but I don't think she knew what was really there. And when they came out and told my uncle that he had triplets, he says, "Okay, yeah, April 1st. Thank you very much." Anyway, we couldn't tell them apart, literally, these boys. We couldn't tell them apart until they got married. And I mean, oh, well, Fran goes with him, and this one goes with him, and then we knew together who it. That's my Aunt Bella. You must remember. Okay. Now, what am I getting at? I hear the idea of a tefillah with words. If you say the words, you've said the tefillah. But busha is a feeling. How do you get yourself to feel ashamed? How do you move yourself to be ashamed? There's a Gemara. The Gemara says in Brachas, listen to this. This is an amazing thing. Kol ha'oseh dvar aveira. Anyone that has done any aveira, umisbayesh, and is ashamed, moichlin lo kol avonoso. How's that? I will. I'm about to get there. Anyone who does an aveira and is ashamed for having done the aveira, Hashem will forgive all of his sins. It's a Gemara in Brachas. If you want to look it up, the Gemara in Yud Beis Amud Beis in Brachas. Now,
at Rosh Hashanah or all year round?
Oh, anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. Kol, listen again here, I'll repeat it. Kol ha'os dvar aveira misyash ba'ishbo. I did an aveira. I don't know what it was. I ate something I shouldn't have eaten. It was just too tempting. Okay? And now I'm ashamed I did that. All of my, I'm really ashamed. If you're really ashamed. And who knows whether it's a feeling, remember? So who knows whether you're really ashamed? Only the Rabban Shalom. Only the Rabban Shalom. That's right. Okay. Now, so that's, I'm going to try to talk a little bit of how we can feel ashamed. But first, I want to talk about the tefillah itself. The tefillah are the Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim, Hashem, Kel Rachum, V'chanu, Ner, Chapayim, Rav Chesed, V'emes, and so on. Omar Rabbi Yochanan, says the Gemara in Brachas again. Omar Rabbi Yochanan, Ilmole Mikra Kasuv, were it not written in the Torah, Iev Shar Omro, you would not be allowed to say such a thing. Melamed, it teaches us Shanisatef HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kishliach Tzibur. Kadosh Baruch Hu wrapped himself up Ki'ilu in a talis like a chazan. The Herolo Moshe, and he taught and showed Moshe Seder Tefillah. This Tefillah. Amalo. And he said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Kol Zman She Yisrael Chotim. Whenever Klal Yisrael sins, Yasu Lefonai Seder Hazeh, they should say this tefillah in this order, Vani Mochel Lahem, and I will forgive them. That's the power. It comes Yontif time, regular Yontif, not Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, but even on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. When they take out the Torah, they sing, Hashem, Hashem, Kel Rachum. Everybody sings it. It's beautiful. It's lovely. It's wonderful. But what's going on here? What does that mean? And how can we extract from that the power that it contains? Obviously, it contains. Look what it can do. If we just would know. Then there's another Gemara. This is a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. Bris Krusa. There's a covenant, the way you make a covenant is you cut, right? Krusa, cut. We've cut, like you cut a record, right? Or you cut a contract. You cut. Bris, Krusa, L'shalosh, Esrei, Midos. These Yud Gimel Midos, there is a covenant with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, She'enon Chosros Reikam. They will not return without doing something, without it having an effect. If you say it, obviously you mean it, but you say it. Bris Krusa. So when Moshe Rabbeinu asked the Rabbeinu Shalom, when did all this take place? Stepping back, Moshe Rabbeinu turns to Hashem and says, "Hareini no es kodecha." I want to understand how the pieces fit together. I know it's a billion piece of puzzle, but I want to know, how does it fit together? That's what he was asking. Because once it's together, listen carefully. Once we know what the pieces are and what the picture is and what the plan is, once we know that, then there's only Kovod Shemayim. It'll only give us a sense of the awesomeness and the beauty and the wonder and the greatness and the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's called Kovod Shemayim. So he said, I already know it. I want to see the picture, the whole plan. So then he said like this, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered him, Ani avir kol tuvi al ponecha. I will pass over you with all my goodness, v'karasi b'shem Hashem lefonecha, and you'll know it's me. V'chanoisi es asher ochon. I will have mercy on those who I choose to have mercy. V'richamti es asher arachem. And I will have compassion on those that I want to have compassion. So Chazal say, again, on this pasuk, you got to know. In brachas again, v'chanotes asher achon v'richamtes asher arachem, afal pi she'eno hogun, afal pi she'eno kedai. Even though they're not worthy of my compassion, even though they're not worthy of my mercy, I will still give it to them. The word achon, the shoresh, the source, the root of the word achon is chen. Now, chen is not something we earn. You know, what do you do to have chen in somebody else? Chen. You know, we all know that some people that just have that chen. And there's some people that don't have chen, but there are people, what do they do? What's the difference? No difference. So why do you have chen for this? It's a gift. Chen is a gift. It's free. Chinam. Chen. Know what chinam is? Free. So chen is free. You don't earn chen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us chen. Oh, there's another thing. Wherever it says chen, it comes with the word mitzia. What's a mitzia? A bargain. Everyone in the store, they're going, oh yeah, it's a mitzia, it's a bargain. No, but it's also a lost article that you find on the ground. You found a mitzia, something unexpected. Right? And mitzia it says, imotzosi chen beinecha. Why? Because you didn't earn it. It's not for any reason. It's not because of anything that you did or didn't do preceding it. This parsha of the whole process of the Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim that we say on in Selichos is V'ato Moshe asked Hashem when he said Hareini no es kodecha. Right before that he says V'ato, and now Imotzasi chen beinecha. If I am found, if I am found to have favor in your eyes, hodieni no es drach. Please, I want to know how the puzzle fits together. That's pain. So it's free. Okay. There is no, by the way, I don't know, grace, I guess, is the closest thing that you can say that, I don't mean the name grace either. I mean, you know what I mean. But it's just not the same. It's not. And then there's rachamim. Chanotzi asher achon, b'richamti asher arachim. And this I think we've talked about a number of times. The meaning of rachamim, rachem, the shoresh rachem is the same as rechem. Rechem is a womb. It also carries the same letters as the word machar, tomorrow. Also, because all three represent the future. The future. The embryo in the womb, nobody wants it to stay there for a long time. They wanted to get out into the future, right? You don't want to hold it in there for 15 years. Not a good idea. Get out of here. Go. Go into the future. Machar is certainly the future. And Rahmanes is future. What does that mean? Kishbochu created the world. It says like this: Breishis bara lukim es hashamayim v'esaretz. Hashem created heaven and earth. First pasuk in Chumash. Rashi, I think, brings down the second Rashi in Chumash. Breishis bara lukim v'nat breishis bara Hashem, because Hashem is the midas harachamim, and Elokim is the midas hadin. So Bereshis, in the beginning, bara Elokim es hashamayim v'aretz, meaning that Hashem intended to create the world with din. What does din mean? Din means justice, truth, absolute justice. You did something wrong, finished. Bang, you get what you're supposed to get. You stick your finger, the one part of the world that is still functioning, al pi din, is nature. You stick your finger into the light socket, you light up. What if somebody puts your finger in there? What? It wasn't your fault. I'm sorry, no, I didn't intend to do. You're going to blow up. Or you go over to a lion and you say, what are you picking on that poor little Shepsel? He has our mom as a kind. He's such a good little Shepsel, a sweetheart. Look how sweet it is. Why are you eating him up? There's no rachamim in nature. Nature is the world without sin, without rachamim. It's all din. There is no rachamim in nature. But Hashem said, if the world were only din, it wouldn't continue to exist. Therefore, he joined the rachamim to din, and together they will function. And what does it mean together they will function? It means that the din is still there. Believe me, there will be repercussions if one does what they're not supposed to do. But it doesn't happen right away. It's not immediate. It's not like nature. It's pushed off. Why? The response is going to be pushed off. Hashem will wait, sometimes a long, long time. Hashem waited 1,600 years before he brought about the din of the Mabul. 1,600 years. That's a long time. Before he brought the Mabul. And they were ready in the time of the grandson of Adam. They were already being Oved Avodah Zarah. There were problems. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, look, we'll create it in such a way where we'll push off the response, the din, because of rachamim, and allow them to do tshuva to erase what they did wrong. So it's for the future, to give us a future. There are those that have no future or should not have any future. There are those that should not have any future. But because of the rachamim, it's pushed off. And if we do tshuva, it removes what we did wrong. No, that's really a difficult thing. How does that work? Excuse me, just because I say sorry, like in England, they always say sorry. You step on somebody's toe, they say sorry. Yeah. It hurts. No, that's not tshuva. I'll tell you what tshuva is in a minute. Rahman al-Islam, he did a terrible thing. One did a terrible thing. They killed somebody. Not intentionally. So, but there were no witnesses. So Bezdin can't punish him. So who's going to punish him? Kadosh Baruch Hu's going to punish him. But if he really does tshuva, and if he really says, I can't exist with this over my head. I really don't want, Hashem, please help me. Hashem says, if he really does tshuva, then you are not responsible, or you are not held for account for what you did. I'm not going to punish him. What does that mean? Why? I mean, it takes a big tshuva. Don't get me wrong. It's not simple tshuva. I'm sorry. But no, it's a tshuva. Why? Because that's the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim. How does it begin? Hashem, Hashem. Hashem is what? Hashem's name of the all-encompassing name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The before, during, after HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Have I gone over the time? So, right? So, before, during, after, Yud Kei Vav Kei, right? Now, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, Chazal say, why do we say Hashem, Hashem, twice? One Hashem, the creator Hashem in the beginning, before the sin, and one after the sin. Yud Kei Vav Kei, after the sin, which means that there's a new creation. You didn't do it. It wasn't done. It wasn't done. If you have tshuva properly. If you have tshuva properly, it was as if. Now, look, you killed somebody. You killed somebody. Rahmana litzlan. That person, the death of that person, whether you did it or not, he would be dead. Because that's Hashem's will. If Hashem didn't want him to die, the bullet would have gone up in I don't know where, in somewhere else. If it without Hashem, he wouldn't die. He can only die. Only Hashem can cause it to death. So I pulled the trigger, and I killed him because he died from my pulling of the trigger. But he died because Hashem wanted him dead. And if Hashem wanted him dead, he'd want him dead whether I pulled the trigger or not. So it can be done. Hashem did it, actually. But what I am guilty for intending and wanting and doing, that is, I've been recreated into a whole new existence. That I never did it. It wasn't done. That's the power of tshuva. It's a new creation. Hashem kodem shechata, Hashem achar sheyachta. There's just like Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, who created everything. It's the same Yud Kei Vav Kei after tshuva, after the chet. Now, one more point. In the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, yes, mercy, compassion, however you want to translate it. There's a word in there that would seemingly not belong. Hashem, Hashem, Kel, Rachum, V'chanun, Erech Apayim, all those are wonderful, sweet, delicious kinds of things. Erech Rav Chesed, Emes. What the heck is Emes doing there? Emes is din, not Rachamim. Emes is the truth, the way it ought to be. What's Emes doing? Why do we say Emes? Now, this you have to really focus on for a minute. When Hashem created the world with din, as we said, he wanted to. Why? Why do you think he created the world with din? I'm sorry? He didn't want to. That's shakai. That's a whole different concept. Shamar la'olam dai. He set limits to the world. That's not what we're talking about. Why did Hashem want that to be just? You did something wrong, bang. Why?
Order.
That is in human terms, order. In Hashem's terms, it's goodness. I'll tell you why. Because din means you've earned it. Din means it's coming to me. I get all the good that has been bestowed in the world is be'emes, if I earn it. If I do the right thing, if I listen to what you say, I have to earn it. If I just gave you, imagine coming into a world without any obligations, and you schmack, you're sitting with a mint julep and a bunch of ladies waving things at you and keeping you cool, and who knows what, and you doing it to them. I got to be equal. Now, what am I saying? Is that what the world was created for? No, the world was created that I have to earn my keep. I can't just be sitting there. Thank you so very much. I'll tell you even better than that. You know, we say in davening on Shabbos and on Yom Tov, Kilo Olam Chasto, 26 times. 26 kilo olam chazdo, says Rashi and Chazal, quoting Rashi quoting Chazal. What are these 26 kilo olam chazdos? Referring to Halel Agodo. It represents the 26 generations from Adon to Moshe Rabbeinu. That the world was sustained by the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, there was a bit of schar and onesh. We saw the flood and all that. But that wasn't enough to sustain the world. When he gave Moshe Rabbeinu the Torah and gave us an opportunity to earn our keep, that was the biggest chesed. Not a diminishing of chesed, but it was the biggest chesed. The chesed that I've earned it, it's mine. All this good that Hashem gave to me, I now earn it. That's why he wanted to create the world with din, so that we can earn it. That's the biggest tov that there could be. That's what he wanted to do. So you say order is a good thing, but Hashem wanted the ultimate good, and the ultimate good is to earn, not to be given. Therefore, that's why Emes is there. That all of these Yud Gimel, Midas Harachmim are put there to get to what? To the Emes. To get to the true goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. But I haven't answered the question yet. So how do you get yourself to feel shame? How do you get to it? How? So the first thing is back to Chaim. The pasuk says, "La'anovim yitain Chaim." Hashem gives Chaim. If you want to get Chaim, even though you don't deserve it, if you want Chaim, la'anovim, people who are humble. Humble people have Chaim. I don't care what they look like, but when you encounter and you get to know someone, well, that maybe externally doesn't seem like they have Chaim, but you see how humble and with what humility they conduct their lives, all of a sudden it changes altogether. They become something very special in your life, and they have chen, and that's what the pasuk in Mishlei says. La'anovim yitain chen, and who got all this chen? Moshe Rabbeinu asked for it, right? And how did he? And he got it because he was the Anav Mikol Adam. So once we know that will bring us to the idea of how to feel shame when we do things wrong. Because shame is to know that I have all this good, but I didn't earn it. I don't deserve it. I may think I deserve it. I did after all. I did this and I did that. Oh, really? You really think you could stand up in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, I deserve all the goodness you've given me. This whole world, this beautiful world, I deserve it. We start out and we say, L'cho Hashem Hatzdaka, you Hashem are just. Right? L'lonu, and we have Boshes Pan. Yes, ma'am.
So I think it's, I guess, our own biggest mistake that we see Shem, the folks that done Shem and not on themselves.
And that's absolutely true. Who has provided me with everything. And that's what I have to feel when I come to Rosh Hashanah. I lived my life, and you were a bunch, look what a life you gave me this year. Okay, there was a little up, there was a little down, but I'm alive. And you gave that to me. Did I deserve it or not? Do I really think I deserve it? That's what we have to come with. And whatever he gave us last Rosh Hashanah, from last Rosh Hashanah till this Rosh Hashanah, that's all finished. That's over. Everything we have is gone. Everything we have is finished. Family, parnasa, health, it's all gone. We got it for this year. Did I deserve it? Not sure. I really don't think so. And I really hope that you will give it to me again. So on Rosh Hashanah, what happens? What is Rosh Hashanah? The first day of what? The month of Tishrei. What took place on the first day of Tishrei? What happened? What? Not Bria. The Bria was on the 25th day of Elul. Man was created. It was the 6th day of creation. Aleph Tishrei is Tchilas Ma'asecha, because without man there is no creation. The creation is meaningless. We give meaning to the creation. That's why we're called partners with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're partners in creation. So without man, there's nothing. So Zeh Hayom will say in the davening, Tchilas Ma'asecha, beginning of your actions. What took place? Well, the Medrash tells us like this. When Hashem said he wanted to create a human being, so there became a debate upstairs. Big debate. Tamal Yeshel Mala, the holy hosts, all the midos, if you will, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, said, well, I don't know. Sholem said, no, don't create him, because they're going to be fighting the whole time. The people are fighting, they're killing each other. It's horrible. I mean, it's a human being that's doing this. Don't create him. And Emes said, don't create him, because they're full of lies. They lie all the time. I don't think anybody needs a bigger proof to that, besides looking into yourself, of what's going on in the world today. The biggest lie in the world is the whole world is lying. And you know what? What's so pitiful is they're lying to themselves. They're lying to themselves. They really believe they're humanitarian. They really believe they're good people. They really believe this is the right thing to do. It's terrible. Emma said, don't create. But Chesed said, wait a minute, slow down. Chesed said, yeah, but he's going to do so much Chesed. Look at Zaka. Look at Hatzalah. Look at Mada. Look at all the wonderful. Look at all the tzedakahs that they have. You should create them. Look at what they're going to do. Tzedek said, justice said, look, it's not going to be order. Tzedek, that's what you said is order. There's going to be a law system. There's going to be a government. There'll be a system here. Created. Says the Gemara, Bizman shehem medainim, which meaning at the time when they're debating, right, whether yes or no, kvar nivra adam. Hashem created them already. So listen, so beautiful. So what does that mean? If he's going to create it anyway, what do you ask him for? He asked them whether they should create man, and they said yes, and they said no. You're not, and he said before they came to a conclusion, he did it anyway. By the way, that's why it says Naaseh Adam. He had no help in making man. Naaseh means it's been already made. Naaseh, it has been done. The act has been done. Naaseh Adam. Man was done. Was created. Why? For us to realize that the status of mankind is with this duality. There's a part of us that is wonderful, and there's a part of us that's not so wonderful. And we have that duality within us, and that's what makes us people. Animals have no duality. They do what they're forced to do. They do what their instincts tell them. We have duality. We have the Tov, we have the not so Tov. And that's what happened on Rosh Hashanah. Now, once that has happened, on the next Rosh Hashanah, the same thing is taking place. Should I create this individual, or should I not recreate this individual? It's not just should you have a good year, and you had a good year, and now you're gonna have a better year, or you're gonna have a not such a good year. It's like, do you get recreated this year or not? That's the din on Rosh Hashanah. Are we going to be created? That's the judgment of Rosh Hashanah. But it's a tough one. It really is. And it's scary. But we have two things going for us. One is the shame. One is the sense of true humility. I don't deserve it. If I'm coming, it's finished. It's over. I don't deserve it. I know I don't deserve it. I'm begging for chen. I'm begging for racham. But there's something else that happens on Rosh Hashanah, and that's the shofar. We blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah because that's what they did on the first day that Moshe went up to receive the second luchos, so that we could reconnect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What we should hear, and we say, Ze hayom tchilas ma'asecha, is said in shofars. That's what's said in shofars. Tchilas ma'asecha. This day. And through the shofar, it reminds us of the first day. Why? Because the pasuk says, "Vayipach bi'apav nishmas chaim." He blew into his nostrils a living soul. He blew, and therefore he is able to acknowledge that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Melech Malchei Amlach. So with all that, when they very interesting, when they coronate Jewish kings, they blow the shofar. And that's what Rosh Hashanah is all about. You'll look through outside of an Asana Tokech. I mean, let's leave that out. That's a very special thing. That wasn't constructed by Chazal. An Asana Tokech is not part of our Shmon Esrei. It's part of Chazor's Hashatz. It's piyutim, it's poetry, it's this, it's wonderful, and it helps a lot to feel the shame. But if you look through the tefillah itself, from the same Tein Pachtacha, all the way down to the end, there's no mention of the Yom Hadin. No mention, and even in Chumash, there's no mention of the Yom Hadin. No mention of the Yom Hadin. What is the main purpose of our tefillah? What is the goal? What are we trying to achieve? In order to be able to feel the shame, in order to be able to feel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who provided everything, in order to feel that and to know that, I have to know that Vayipach Be'apav Nishmas Chaim, because the first time that a human being was able to acknowledge that there is a Rabbanu Shalom was when he blew into him that Vayipach Be'apav. And that's why on Rosh Hashanah, all we talk about is Malchus Shamayim, Kabbalah Sol Malchus Shamayim, Tein Pachtecha, Kol Ha'olam. Everything is, all that is just to accept upon ourselves the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Melech. That's where we're going. That's Tchilas Maaseh. So when we blow that shofar, just like Hashem blew into, we blow with that power of life that he blew into us, we blow with the shofar and acknowledge that he is Melech Ha'olam. Only Hashem decides. The two sides are fighting, and Hashem decided, I'm going to do it anyway. Let me just conclude with one more thing. You know, from the Chofetz Chaim on down, they all said, we are in the Ikvasid of Mashiach, in the period of Mashiach, right? The word Akev in Lashon HaKodesh means healed. What does it have to do with Mashiach?
Also have be'ikvutz.
What?
Be'ikvutz.
Following. Not really. The Akev is the heel. The heel is the lowest part of the human structure. It's connected to the dirt. It is the least sensitive, calloused, feels very little. The only thing it really responds to is the tickle. Doesn't respond to anything. What does that mean? That means at the time of Mashiach, everything is going to be so bad, that's all that we'll be responding to. And why is that? why did it have to be that at the end it has to be so terrible, like it is now? For one reason, because that's the role of Mashiach. To reverse not just a little bit of evil, but every single itty bitty little spot or piece of dirt of evil has to be reversed into Kedusha, like David HaMelech, who came from Moab. That is what the Ikvasa de Mashiach is all about. And from the Chofetz Chaim, they're talking about over 100 years. Kemat, he died in 1933. So it'll be close, no, over 90 years. He said, if you listen carefully, you'll hear the footsteps of Mashiach. And then I heard in the 60s from the Ponderisher Mashgiach, Reb Chatzkel Levenstein, he said, hear it? You don't need a hearing aid. He's banging at the door. He's knocking at the door. All we have to do is what really want him to be there. Bekarno Tarum B'Shorsa. So I don't know. I just want to say, if that's the case, if that's where we are now, and who am I to talk in terms of the pieces of the puzzle? I don't know anything about the pieces of the puzzle, but this thing I do know. This much I do know. That they're being directed. And the biggest proof of that is that, like the Chofetz Chaim said, the world, when Hashem created the world, he created the world as a cone-shaped spiral. It goes around, and it's cone-shaped. So at the bottom, the cone, not the pinnacle, but the bottom. So when you start going around, it takes a long time to get around because it's very wide. But as it gets towards the end, things start moving a little bit faster, till it hits the top. And then the goal has been reached. That's where we are now. We're at the top. It's the lowest part, but we're at the top. And that's that we have to come away with a sense of joy. Yes, it's terrible what's going on around us. But if we perceive it and we can see the evil and know that it is evil and know that we are not, then we will be zocher to the shame. We can be zocher to the tov, the ultimate tov, and ultimately to the ultimate goal of the Yud Gimel Ikrim, the chen. That chen, that English wordless word. The chen, the present that Hashem gives us. Yiddish chen. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us all a ksiva v'chasiva toiva and a good convention.
Thank you.
What we should do.